second place. She wants to retch. She never comes in second place. If it weren't for those idiots at the publishing house canceling Dad's series, she'd be able to finish her semester. But they don't know genius when they see it. So here she is, watching her grades go into freefall as João takes top marks in the class. João. The name makes her spit. He's not special. He should be in second place. She sits at home, powerless. Maybe she can throw a wrench in the works. Call the school. Get him in trouble. She calls. She doesn't have a plan, but she calls. A secretary picks up. Hello? Adriana hesitates. Hello? I'm calling about my son, João. I didn't receive his grades. Can I confirm the address on file? The secretary, just like that, gives her everything. So easy. She hangs up, stares at the phone. Why had she done that? Her mind drifts to Dad's comic. This is what she would do. Gather information and exploit. She dumps her bike behind a fire hydrant, checks her watch. Should be any minute now. João walks out right on cue from his fencing lesson. She writes it down. She knows where he'll be better than even he knows. In an hour, he'll be home playing video games. He'll go to bed at 10. He'll wake up, go to school, stop by his friend's house, bike home, get tutored on math. This has been her entire month, following João, learning his schedule, learning everything about him. She still doesn't know why. It felt good to have this power over someone. The power to know that at any time she could disrupt his entire routine, his entire life. She gets on her bike and tails him on his way home. There's an alley he always takes as a shortcut. Not a particularly safe place to be when you're being pursued. But, of course, he doesn't know that he's being pursued. She's being careful. His bike goes over a nail. He flips over the handlebars, scrapes his knees and palms, swears. He sits there, staring at his flat tire, doing nothing. Useless. This is the boy who's taking first place honors in her class. This feckless cretin. She imagines jumping him right now. It would be impossible for anyone to see her. This is where she'd do it. From Dad's manga, she thinks to herself. This is where I'd do it. She pores over the black, scratchy drawings of soñadoras sombrías. There must be some kind of clue in here. Something she missed. Something that would explain why her father walked out the door that day and never came back. There were no answers. Not to that question, anyway. This comic that her father had worked on every night to the dim light of an old accountant's lamp instead lay out a blueprint. A blueprint on how to live. She loved Arivalente, her father's first manga, but it didn't teach her anything. Not like this. The Skull Merchant has a system. She learns everything she can about her target, stalks their digital and literal footprints until she has a complete profile of their every move. Knows them better than they know themselves. And then she waits until they're completely stuck in their routine, and she shatters it. She chooses only the most elite opponents. Initially, it was to protect the weak, but that pretension faded quickly. Eventually, her only goal is to destroy those who challenge her claim to be the best, takes them out of their element, and destroys them. scared, alone, and far from home. Adriana sees the parallels. The rich, comfortable executives she deals with daily operate with a sickening detachment, so used to their lives of comfort, convinced of their own invincibility. It won't be easy to crack their armor, but worthwhile endeavors are rarely easy. The skull merchant dips her blade into the fetid water, lets the blood and ichor slide off the gleaming carbon fiber, lets herself relax. Another job done. She removes her weapon slowly out of the water, taking care not to let any fall on the floor, and hangs it on the wall. Water is a terrible thing to waste. She walks across her tiny Spartan room and plugs a cord from the wall into the nape of her neck. The real world dissolves around her, replaced by the other world, a bright world, a clean, perfect lie. She stares right into the sun for a few moments, stopping only to close some particularly invasive pop-ups that have burrowed their way into her hardware. "You're the merchant, right?" A timid voice calls out somewhere behind her. She turns. A chipmunk with jacked human arms stares back at her. "I might be. Who's asking?" "Someone won the job." This guy probably paid top credits for that avatar, and he looks like an absolute joke. She isn't laughing, though. "I don't take jobs anymore. I work for myself." "Well, you might be interested in this one. He says you're run down, that you're all but retired." "And who's he?"
"I don't know much about him. He's a cyborg. Long past cyborg, I think. Might have run out of flesh to fuse the steel to. Might just be a robot by now. Goes by the name, Terry Chrome."
"We'll see who's out of touch," she says, and jacks herself out of the other world. She looks at her bed and sighs. Won't get much sleep tonight. The hunt's calling. She gazes out of her window over the blasted-out wasteland of Rio de Janeiro as she plugs her arm back into the blade. Some people can't wrap their head around it. The business doesn't need to be successful to be profitable. Sure, it helps, especially at the beginning, but she's not in the beginning of company's business. Grab something with decent gross revenue, but ballooning expenses. Slash the budget, cut anyone who isn't keeping the lights on, squeeze some profit out of it, and sell it at a markup to the first idiot who doesn't look under the hood. Lining up a directorial board that sees it the same way, though, not so easy. These cowards foisted on her by the shareholders are too cowardly or lazy or, and she hates these ones the most, ethical to have that killer instinct. The self-righteous ones are the worst. As if it's ethical to do anything less than everything to make the line go up. So long as you're in the black, you're in the right. She yearned to take them out like she had so many of her rivals before. Take them out to the forest and hunt them like dogs. But there's no challenge in that. These are soft, helpless fools, fish in a barrel. She's like the skull merchant. She only hunts apex predators. She'll have to do this the old-fashioned way, through remorseless, bureaucratic maneuvers. Finally, a target worth pursuing. It's been a while since we had a good one, and this is a really, really good one. Former military turned private contractor, retired from the battlefield to a quiet hobby farm to the northwest. Some say he survived months alone in the forest with nothing but a combat knife. And he's got the one parcel of land that stands between Adriana and the factory she's trying to build. Weeks of talks go nowhere. He doesn't want to sell. Bigger numbers do nothing to change his mind. The board starts talking about selling the land surrounding his, to give up on the factory, to build somewhere else. They might be right, but that doesn't matter. She doesn't lose. She doesn't come in second place. So she goes to meet him herself, face to face. She mentions the offer. He politely refuses again. That's too bad. She hopes his will is up to date. As she leaves, she feels a flush cross her face. She overplayed her hand. A guy like that will be hyper-vigilant now. It won't be easy to extract him, and it sure as hell won't be easy to hunt him. But as her mind wanders to the hunt, the nerves turn into excitement. She'll figure it out. She just needs to learn everything about him. Adriana looks into her new arm-mounted display. Her drone floats 50 stories above the city, at the unfinished penthouse of a new luxury building her company invested in. Through its camera, she sees the soldier awakening from a chemically assisted slumber. She watches as he shakes himself awake, immediately alert and focused. He rushes to the edge of the building and nearly falls. Not like that, old man. Don't make this easy. She watches as he finds his bearings, stalks around the building, getting a feel for its blueprints, finds the combat knife she so kindly left for him to defend himself, and descends the first flight of stairs towards freedom. She knows the layout of this building like the back of her hand. She moves her drones into position. Of course, a soldier like him will have the wherewithal to avoid them, but catching him moving isn't the point. They're there to cut off options, to herd him exactly where she wants him. He'll know that too. That's what makes the game so fun. Two brilliant minds, each playing 6 steps ahead. Odds are, even if he'll never admit it, he lives for this too. She straps her blade to her arm, a gleaming silver edge inspired by her father's manga. One more thing to tie her to him. She remembers him reading to her every night from Advalente. How singularly focused he was on his craft. It was the thing she admired most about him. She owed it to him to keep his vision intact. More than intact. Alive. If nobody would buy the Skull Merchant story, she would become the Skull Merchant. One way or another, people will know his story.